Flawless. Flawless. All right. Today is going to be a short one because I'm done with the marathons. 3.5 hours, 2.5 hours. So I brought my three friends on that everybody wanted to see. Anthony, Joe, and Ed. Hi, guys.
Hey, Larry.
Hey, Larry, what's up, buddy?
All right. Now, before we start, there was a guy, this guy right here, Elmwood Blues. He asked last week about the horse Dixieland Belle, and she raced yesterday. I was at the track, and she got left at the gate and win by open lengths. Really, really nice filly. So anyway, he asked about her last week, and that's so that answers. And he sent this in. Congratulations to Bob Hutt. His 2-year-old won the $100,000 stake race in her debut, Dixieland Belle. That's it.
That's
Anyway,
good. He deserves it. He's a nice guy.
And Bob Hutt called me up to tell me to say thank you. So that takes care of that. Okay, now we'll go to let's see. First, I want to say this. I want to show Joe's father. Joe's father's how old is he now, Joe? Not 90?
89.
And this is what Joe's father just went in. That's my niece, Joe.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I put this up, I wanted to ask you, they're not, these are my knees. They're not stitches. They glued it together.
Right.
And these little things, lines there are just Band-Aids.
Yeah, they're like a paper tape, not paper tape, but a vinyl tape.
Yeah. Is that what they did to your father? The same thing?
No, maybe in the beginning, but not now. Now it's just, you see the scar and the mark, but there's no more sutures or paper tape or whatever they use.
I think you need a water blister on them legs.
Take it easy, handicapper. Hey, Eddie, I showed this picture last week. Do you remember these days?
Yes, she cuts it free, the sure.
Oh, my God.
I remember one day I raced at Monticello. I win a race with a horse called Rich Howell. They went in 2:16-1 in a blizzard that I think if I could find the picture, it was in the record at Monticello. The coolers were blowing up in the air when I was walking out of the paddock.
I'm going to tell you that it's hard to believe, and naturally there's no winner's circle picture, but this is the truth. I win a race in Green Mountain Park. When the track thawed out in Green Mountain Park, they floated it with tractor tires chained together. That's the truth.
Yeah.
I win a race with Mr. Spindletop in 2 minutes and 38 seconds. Going to the half at Green Mountain Park, going to the half, the mud was, I should have just took all the boots off them. Going to the half, the hind shin boot broke. Whatever happened, he was flopping around, and he wound up making a break. And I pulled him, and right at that point was the paddock, right about the half. The paddock was right there. I pulled over. The groom ran out, ripped the boot off, got back on the bike, caught the field, and won the race. That's the truth. Way. I swear to God, that's the truth.
It sounds like the Buddy Gilmore story. And he waited in the fog.
I was just thinking about that. It wasn't Buddy Gilmore. It was.
Who was it? Delinsko?
No, it was. I heard that story. I can't think of his name, but it was a foggy,
I wasn't there.
night.
Was that a true story?
Yeah, it was a true story. He had the 8-hole, and he got away last. And the only time you could see the horse is like when they passed the grandstand, and they couldn't even announce it. Jack Lee couldn't even announce the race. And what happened was he stayed last. He pulled up like at the quarter pole, and when he heard them coming, then he got after his horse, and he ended up winning the race. And evidently, he got away with it because no one could see him, and no one knew what was going on.
Wow.
I want to race a Monticello. This race here. It was 8 degrees before I get on the bike to score him down. Mario Marcelino comes running out with this red thing. He goes, Anthony, put this on your face. It was one of those masks that you put on your face in the winter.
Yeah.
And I did. And I happened to win the race. But it was 8 degrees without the wind. And the wind, I forget what it was, like something below 0. But yeah, it's horrid.
Anthony, by the way, I liked your story last week. Was very, very intriguing because I go up to Bethel, Pennsylvania, to the shrine of Padre Pio's.
Oh, do you really?
Yes, and I got anointed. I got anointed by the glove when I had my heart attack. And you don't receive the Holy Ghost. I mean, the communion. You get anointed by the oil and the glove.
Yeah,
it's amazing. You should go there. And
I will someday. Yeah.
And Joey, that Bible thing.
Yeah.
Believe it before life ends.
It's basic instructions before leaving Earth.
Oh, I put it the other way. But anyway, it was a very good podcast last week. I enjoyed everything.
I left some stuff out, one in particular, because I didn't want to get any, negative feedback on it. But I'll tell it real quick because I know this isn't a religious podcast. But when I did get hit, okay, and when I was dragged underneath the car, and why I say that's what was told to me would happen to me.
Yeah.
Because when I got hit, I remember going home. I went home. My mother was putting the Christmas tree up on the patio, and the people across the street from me were moving. And I sat and watched them carry the furniture out, put them in the truck and everything. Well, months later, I found out that night, those things happened. Wow. Those two things really happened. My mother, when she got the call, was putting the tree up on the patio, and the people across the street moved that night. So I didn't want to say that then. I'm surprised I even said it now because, everybody will have their own theory of it. I have no theory. I can't explain it, and I don't try to.
Well, I said last week we weren't going to talk too much about that, but the reason I'm glad you mentioned it is because I forgot the guy's name. I think it was Bob Kopp.
Tom Kopp.
Tom Kopp that said first thing or whatever he said. And I gave my phone number, but he never called me. And
he said his God is better than our God.
But that part ain't that bad. But when he says this is really getting disgusting or something like that, it's just why the hell does everybody have to?
Let me tell you.
Why can't you just listen to other people's stories or other people's God? Respect who they respect, who they believe in, and why do you have to make a comment like that? And that's why I get my phone number out.
He was talking about the Ethiopian Bible.
I have the comments on here now. I'm waiting for him to come back on because, as you know, I gave him my phone number. He never called. I offered him an Uber here. He never called, and I'm waiting for him to come back. And what's his name? Tom the Cop? Is that his name?
Tom Kopp.
Tom Kopp.
He was talking about the Ethiopian Bible, which, grant you, it's the oldest Bible. But the Ethiopian Bible has about, I think it's 84 or 88 books in it. The King James Bible has 66 books in it. But the Ethiopian Bible, one of the biggest books in it is the Book of Enoch. Enoch was the grandfather of Noah. And Enoch talks all about revelations, okay, the coming of Christ and all of that. But it's not recognized. That book is not recognized because it was written over centuries. It wasn't written all at one time, and the Jews reject it and the Christians reject it.
Now, let me ask you a question about that Bible, that Tom Cop, whatever.
Ethiopian, yeah.
Yeah. Does it, in the Ethiopian Bible, does it ever have the words respect in it?
Respect, I don't know. I didn't read the entire Bible.
Respect other people, respect the rights of others, anything with respect.
That's a given. That's a given.
That's the storyline of the Bible, part of it.
Yeah.
Respect and forgive and.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I think, and I don't want to put Tom Cop down or anything, but like you said, Larry, let him come on and enlighten us.
Yeah, but he never called me.
No, I know.
don't want to put the guy
down. Things that we don't know. You know?
I got room for 6 more people over here. He could be one of them, or he could be sitting right next to me. But how do you make a statement like that, a shitty statement, and then not follow up? You just want to
I have a feeling he just looked it up and found out that the Ethiopian Bible is one of the oldest Bibles, or is the old. It came out about 400 AD, and I think he just went on that and just said stuff. I really don't think he's really versed on the Ethiopian Bible, but if he is, I'd like to hear what he has to say. I'm
he's going to have another shot if he's listening. I think I said last week, if this really offends you, just shut it off. You don't have to tune in.
First of all, it was just Joe and I telling our life experience what brought our faith stronger. That's all it was, and that's all it was meant to be. We're not Bible scholars. This isn't a Bible
to hurt anybody or offend anybody.
Exactly.
But when he started saying this is crap, this is insulting.
Yeah, my God is better than your God. Well, they're the same gods in both Bibles. So, and Jesus.
Yeah, well, there's God and Jesus in the Ethiopian Bible.
Yes, of course they are.
Well, there's only one God, right?
Exactly, and it's the same one. That's why I'm not giving much credit to what he was saying, because I really don't think that he read the Ethiopian Bible or knows really all that much about it. And let him talk about the books, the Book of Jubilee, the Book of Thomas. All the books that the St. James doesn't have, the King James.
Well, the Racing Form has 8 pages. 8
pages, with approximately 8 to 10 horses in each one.
You know what's unbelievable, and it never used to be like this when I grew up, and I'm sure you guys are almost my age too, and I'm sure it was the same way. Back then, them words that you were held responsible for the things that you said. And there was none of these keyboard tough guys or there was none of that stuff. Yeah. And it bothers me that I sure hope that this Tom Cop really believes in what he said. But if he did, he would come on here. He would have called me. Just like that.
The night is young. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have it on, but he never called me during the week.
Enlighten us, Tom. Tell us things we don't know. Educate us. That's all we're asking.
Respectfully.
We're not here to debate you. Just
respectfully.
Hey, Larry, you insulted me last week. You mentioned everybody's birthday but mine.
When was your birthday?
When was yours, Eddie?
The 10th.
Oh, the 10th. Okay.
Happy birthday.
We're the 8th.
You're the 9th. I told you that last week. You want to come on?
We're both the 8th. Me and Larry's the 8th, not the 9th.
I'm going to tell you something, Eddie.
Yes, sir.
Anthony sent me a beautiful.
I know. You forgot to thank him.
With all kinds of Italian stuff and saw everything in it, plus a beautiful card. Then he wished me happy birthday, and it was his birthday too. I never knew. And then the following day, I'm looking on Facebook, and I see that it's his birthday. I was so embarrassed I call up, but I just don't remember nobody's birthday. When you're in order, you won't forget.
Let me tell Joe and Eddie really what happened. He thanked me for what I sent him. So I says, well, Larry, we have the same birthday. And I thought he was 85. If I knew he was 84, I wouldn't have sent him shit. But I figured he was 85. So he says, well, you know what? Since it's your birthday too, I'm going to wish you a happy birthday now because I'm going to forget Tuesday. I says, good enough. Thank you. Then
What'd you
Tuesday,
say?
it's like he never knew anything. He's calling me up. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize it was your birthday. He already wished me happy birthday. So,
Don't forget next year, Larry.
Next year, you got to remember.
What?
I'm going to send you the
Remember
birthdays
his
next
birthday.
year.
Save that basket and send it back to him.
Yeah.
Half of it's gone already.
Next year, we'll send him a walker.
yeah.
All right, let's talk
If I didn't get
horses.
my knees done, I was heading for the walker. They got so bad because
Yeah, those knees, you were suffering. I remember I called you a couple of times. You were in pain. I couldn't believe you had both of them done at the same time. Madon, you're nuts.
Larry, I think the name of the driver that did that thing in the fog was Eddie Cobb.
Eddie Cobb.
Yeah,
Well, Eddie Cobb had a crew that bet for him.
Oh my God! Yeah.
You know what he used to do sometimes? He would intentionally cause a recall, and if the odds weren't 4-1 or better, he would just finish back. He would be, if they bet too much in the last flash, he would cause a recall. Go down, look at the board. If the horse wasn't 4-1, if the horse was 4-1, he'd win. If the horse wasn't 4-1, everybody that thought they were going to double bang him bet a lot more money. He would, and that now I don't know that for sure, but that's what I was told by two heavyweight bettors that knew the people that were betting.
It's probably true. He did a lot of notorious things.
Yeah, he used to bet a lot of money, and then he used to take out. He used to cash in the tickets. In other words, he would bet early, and then he'll flash like 8-5, and then all of a sudden, they go to the window and they cash back the tickets. You know, they return the tickets back, and the odds would climb up again. And unbelievable. He used to do some really shady shit. But he was. I tell you, when he had Genghis Khan, right?
Yeah.
It's some good horses.
Yes. Now those were the days.
Before I forget, somebody on Facebook or maybe here, I think it was on Facebook. They asked, "Has anybody seen Renee Pullen?" And
yes, I know.
And I said,
"Yeah,
you saw that?" And I said that I just got off the phone with him. And
right.
He's doing well. That's his beautiful wife who died right after this picture was taken. She died of cancer. Beautiful girl. And this is when I just went to see Renee now. That's Renee, and that's the picture of his wife in between us. Renee's a great guy. Got a bad deal. He just got a bad deal. It was sad. It was.
You want to hear a funny story with Renee?
I ain't done yet, Eddie.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Renee said that I have to say hello to Joe. So Joe, Renee said hello.
Hello, Renee. Me and my dad still talk about you. He watched the podcast with you. He said, "Oh man." So Renee was a great guy. You won like 12 in a row with a horse called Sport Coat at the Meadowlands. You remember? I'm sure he remembers. I claimed the horse in Roosevelt, and he couldn't get around a half-mile track too good, but he was a fast horse. And the Meadowlands had just opened. So Renee went over there with Norman Duplessis' horses. So I sent the horse over there with Renee. The horse went from the 20 claimers. I think I claimed for 15 or 18 at Roosevelt. He went from the 18 claimers at Roosevelt to the 40 or 50s at the Meadowlands. He would just win every week. It was unbelievable.
Renee's a good guy, and
yeah.
I don't want to. You know what happened? I'm going to tell you what happened because
before you say, just I feel bad about your brother Andre, Renee, if you're watching. His brother passed away not too long ago.
Yeah,
I didn't know
a
that.
couple of years ago. Yeah, Andre. Yeah,
Andre used to work for me, and also Richie LaCava passed away this week.
Yeah.
Oh my God, did he?
Yeah.
Shit.
Renee and Lou Palucci went to see him the day before he died because I called Renee up, or Renee called me up, and I told him, I says, you know that he died, and he didn't even know, but it was on Facebook like 5 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning, something like that. Let me tell you what happened to Renee. What a stand-up guy he is, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, but it just goes to show what a stand-up guy he is. I went to see him, and I asked him if I went to see him and his daughters. He raised his 3 daughters all by himself after his wife died, and yes, 3 daughters. Was it 3 daughters? I think it was 3
Yeah.
daughters.
Yeah.
3 daughters. And they were all there. I asked them if they could be there. And then I asked them with all his daughters there, I says, listen, Renee, I says, would you mind if I told that story about what happened with you and everything in the book? I won't go into that story. But he says, no problem. You know, just say it. Just leave one person's name out, which I did, and so that was no problem. And then he invited me back to the house on 2 or 3 other occasions. His daughter cooked a wonderful meal for me, and just great company. And at the time, he wasn't doing nothing. He was hanging out with Dubé every once in a while and playing golf, and then I asked him, I says, you know, it's been a long time. And he really got caught in a trap, because when he was milkshaking them horses, and the reason I'm saying this is because the whole world knows what he did. When he was milkshaking them horses, it was not illegal. It was okay to do it. They never even had a test for it. They didn't know about it. And he was stupid. And he went into Belmont and Aqueduct and he was doing it. And the reason he was doing it was because his wife just died. He was in bad state. He had 3 little kids trying to raise them, and he was really struggling. The horses weren't doing that good because his mind was elsewhere, and he started doing what he was doing, and he was offered $500, I think, for every horse that he milkshaked. Now I'm saying this because it was out in the newspapers. It was all over the place. So, okay, so now he did that. Now, when he was doing that, they had no test for it. It wasn't legal. It wasn't illegal. It wasn't nothing. He was doing it, and then he got caught in that whole gambling with Louis the Rock and the Pebble and all them bottom feeding creeps, and he got caught up in that thing. And I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of the story because it's going to be part of my TV series. What happened after that? But during that time, I got him an attorney. And I paid for the attorney, and the attorney set everything up where he could get his license back. And Dubé was supposed to go with him because he didn't have a car. And Dubé, the day and I says, everything is set up. Just show up there and just show up there. So the lawyer calls me and he says, where is Renee? And I says, he has to be there. And I call him and he says he couldn't get a ride there. Dubé couldn't pick him up. Now, I know Dubé's a good kid. He's a good kid, good trainer, good driver. He's just a really nice guy. He won a couple of races for me when it was important, and he's really a nice guy. But how could you not pick him up? What was so important that you couldn't pick him up? But anyway, he didn't pick him up. Now my lawyer goes nuts because everything, whatever had to be done was done. Now the lawyer says we blew it. We just blew it, you know. So I says, try to get. I'll pay you double. Do whatever. Forget about money's no object. Just get him another hearing, and he gets another hearing. And he gets there, and they asked him one question. If somebody was doing something illegal and you saw it, would you report it? Anybody, in my opinion, anybody in the world, even me, who protected 4 guys and lost fortunes, but with the question they asked and the way they asked it, he could have said yes. He could have said yes. You're not giving up nobody. You're not giving up. You just say, if down the future I should see something, I'll let you know. Right. So they asked him that question, and Renee says, I couldn't do that. I couldn't rat on somebody. I could never do that. Wow. So they denied him a license. And the lawyer calls me up and he says, I hate to take this money, but I'm taking it. $10,000. And he says, I don't understand how he could not just say yes. Just say yes. You're not naming anybody, and it's just a hypothetical. Anyway, I call up Renee and I says, Renee, what? He says, because they asked me and I couldn't lie. I would never turn anybody in. Why Renee don't have a license? Stand up guy. Really good guy. I hope I didn't get him mad by divulging some of that, but that's why we don't have a license. And I'm going to tell you something about Renee, and I think you all know it. He could ride with the best of them. He was really, really good. He was the perfect size, the fearless. He was everything. He belonged doing what he was doing, but because of that tragedy that happened with his wife, he did what he had to do. You know what it's like to have no life insurance in the horse business, just starting out. He just went on his own. Your wife died. Your wife has cancer. Every penny he's getting and earning, he's paying for treatments and everything else. And then she ultimately dies, and he's left with no money, owing doctors, with 3 little babies. Anyway, that's Renee. Good guy. Anyway, okay, let's get off of that. Okay, I got some pictures up here.
I resent the pictures to you, Larry, again. I don't know if
I have to wait, Anthony, because you sent them on 3 different angles. So
no, and then I resent them the very last time, and when I viewed them, they were all good.
Oh, I didn't see that because my friend Tom is coming over the house tomorrow night, and he's gonna get on here and straighten them all up. But
I sent you a new set anyway.
Had I known that, I would. Well, we could talk about that
another one. Yes.
All right. Let me just tell you about my friend here, my friend Alfred Natoli. He wrote a song for Frank Sinatra called "Here's to the Band." Probably one of the best songs. Probably the only song that pays tribute to the orchestra, to the band. It's a great song. And Frank Sinatra, for those of you that know, he collected Lionel trains. Mm-hmm. His whole basement was full of, it was like a big train station. The only 2 Lionel cars that he didn't have were them 2 that Alfred and him are holding now. And the way Alfred got it, Alfred's uncle was the one big shot with Lionel trains. And he got these 2 cars for Frank Sinatra. And he came and he gave it to him, and Sinatra. Them were the only 2 cars he never had. And just so you know, Alfred, aside from being a great musician and a great saxophone player, was on Ed Sullivan and everything else. He also grew up with Joe Pesci, and he's Joe Pesci's stand-in and double in all the movies that he did. And once in a while, Pesci puts him in the movie. He was in The Irishman. He was in Casino, in that scene at the bar where Pesci says to him, "What'd you do with that money? I gave you the money to pay your rent. Would you gamble it?" Tell me the truth. Did you gamble it? If you tell me you gamble it, I'll give you the money. You gamble it. That's the scene that
Yeah, I remember the scene.
with Alfred. And before I turn it over to you guys, go see how I get on a roll. Here's and I'm sure you all saw the Gotti, the John Gotti movie with Armand Asante. Did you see that one, the first one?
My dad and I just watched it yesterday or the day before again.
Yeah, I had
really good.
I had that's Armand Asante now. I had dinner and lunch with him a couple of times. Unbelievable guy. Unbelievable guy. And the reason he never reached superstardom here is because for 30 years he made pictures overseas. I forget what country, but he went overseas when things start getting a little crazy, like 30, 40 years ago. But he's a really, really good guy. And he is going to have a part in my TV series. So
I'll tell you what, that Gotti movie was very authentic. Very authentic.
Yeah.
Really good.
That opening scene when he talks, right in the beginning when he talks, it's unbelievable. Just the way John would do it. Almost he walk like him, he talk like him, and
he had it down.
I love that scene when he's talking about JoJo. He comes in the casino with all the JoJo all over the place.
And then he says, "Don't mention my name."
Yeah,
and his name is all over the place.
All right. Now, just one more thing, because I got one more picture, and then we'll go to you guys. Ever since I learned how to do the pictures, I get a kick out of this stuff. Okay, that's Milton Berle. Probably 90% of the people watching don't even know who Milton Berle is.
I know him.
Berle, when I was in California, I lived there for 3 years. He used to come in the club that my friend owned, and I was in there every night, the Lacage Club. And he used to get up maybe once a week and go. It was a female impersonator show, and he used to go in the back, and he used to dress up like a girl and come out. But anyway, he was the president of the Friars Club in Los Angeles, in California. And he invited me to lunch with him. Every afternoon, I would sit and have lunch with him, and he would tell me stories about movie stars, the girls and the guys, that were the most interesting stories. And I asked him once, I says, I should write a book about this. And he says, don't do that. So I don't do it, and I don't talk about the things that he said but what he did was I had a Lincoln, I think it was a Mark IV, and his wife died. He had his wife's birthday party at the club, but then she died, and he was going out with this big, beautiful blonde. And when I was going back to, I was going to leave California, and he asked me, he says, "You driving back?" I says, "No." I says, I'm going to get rid of the car here. And he bought it. He bought it for the girl. He just come one afternoon with a paper bag full of cash, and he gave it to me, and he bought that car for the girl. The stories that he had, them Hollywood guys back then, and the girls, unbelievable. All right. I'm going to go to the comments, and let's see if Tom Kopp.
I don't see him up there.
Oh, you've been watching?
Yeah, I don't see him.
Okay. All right. Whoever wants to tell a story, tell a story. But Eddie, before you go, you sent me that thing about HISA.
Yes.
You want to just mention about because it was a very, very interesting article, and maybe some of the people didn't see it. So do you remember it? Can you
talk? No, to be honest with you, when I was reading it, I glanced at it and I said, let me send it to you because you were really getting into it. And I felt that, you were going to, publicize it a lot more because you're getting.
Yeah, right. Being that you don't remember it and you didn't read it all, forget about it. I didn't. Make believe I didn't ask you. I'll get into it some other time.
That HISA is, now I'm going to ask you a question about John Campbell. Okay. That's, he's I hear that he's trying to negotiate with Lisa Lazarus. If I'm right, I don't know. If I'm wrong, this is what I heard.
I don't know.
And he is trying to, I don't know, that they were saying something about they have a new rule now for the drivers. If they take their foot out of the stirrup, it's a fine. If they do it the second time, it's a fine and a suspension. Something to do with the whip. They cannot hit the horse more than 3 times. They could waive it. And it's a whole bunch of stuff that I was talking to these people from Jersey. And John Campbell is the nephew of Buddy Gilmore. Am I right or wrong?
I don't know. I never heard that.
I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, he was a relations to the Gilmores. I don't know if it's a cousin, a nephew, or something. I don't know. But this is what I was getting. Some people were telling me about, because I was asking about why is freehold closing, and what they're trying to do is to show place, or what's the other, Gateway, show place. They're gonna have when they close, they're gonna try to have the racing of the stake races and all that in show place. And this is what I've been hearing. So freehold is, they're not even going to sell it. They're not even taking any type of buyers for freehold.
You know what I think? What I personally think? I think the deal's already done. I think the deal was done long before the announcement was even made that it was going to be sold.
Probably.
That's what I think. But I could be wrong. I don't know.
I could be wrong too.
I was talking with a thoroughbred trainer, a friend of mine, and a situation came up where he has a 2-year-old that's probably worth $1 million or more. Just had 2 starts, I think, and then popped the curb and they just laid him up. But he's very, 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 very good horse. And I told him we were talking about it, and I says, well, look, I says it's really a bullshit lameness thing. It's no big deal. It's not like a bow tendon or nothing like that. It's a curb. Just pin fire it and get it over with. And he says that's what they do at the trotters. And I says, yeah, and that's the best way. They pin fire it, paint it with an iodine solution for 5-6 days, and then that'll never bother the horse for the rest of his life. So then I find out, I was at Parks Racetrack the other day, and I'm sitting with Bob Hutt, and Bob Hutt tells me that if anybody pin fires a thoroughbred, they're barred for life.
Yeah, I told you that last time.
Wait a minute, hold it now. Just let me finish. So I says, now, when he said that, my friend had gone to the men's room, so he didn't hear this. And here's a horse that's eligible for millions of dollars worth of stakes next year, probably going to be worth a lot of money. And I told him to pin fire the curbs. Now, before he came back, I'm saying to myself, a vet from Belmont pin fired him. Now that vet should know that you can't do it. So anyway, now I'm hoping that what Bob says is not true. Anyway, he comes back, and I says to my friend who owned the horse, I says, you had your horse pin fired? Yeah, you told me. Yeah, okay. I didn't have the guts to say it, so my friend says it. You know that the new rule in HISA, you can't pin fire a thoroughbred, and if you do, he's barred for life from racing. So he says, yeah, but you just can't pin fire the shins. You can't pin fire buck shins. Now, what kind of rule is that? And the reason why they said cruelty to animals. So why? It's cruelty to animals if you pin fire buck shins, but 5 feet away is the hock. And if you pin fire a hock, it's okay. I don't get it. These are the rules that drive you crazy. And Campbell, I see what you said about Campbell negotiating with them. I can't believe because a couple of heavyweight trainers, drivers, called me up, and they know I talk about this stuff, and they said, please, this would put the final nail in the coffin for harness racing. So I don't know how to get to her. But if I think the information that you sent me, Eddie, I think it has that there's a good chance that the Supreme Court might, and a lot of horsemen's committees and everything, they're against it. So maybe it'll end. Who knows? Maybe they'll just get rid of them. But once the government creates a program, they don't ever get rid of it.
It's so ironic with all these stupid rules and you can't pin fire, you can't freeze fire, you can't inject fecklocks, you got to have 30 days, you can't freeze a horse for 14, but you can inject hocks. You can inject the hocks, but you can't, and that's 14 days, but you cannot breeze a horse for 7. All these rules are stupid. Like you always say, there is not a level playing field in these racetracks, because a lot of these trainers who have substantial amount of horses, they're on the farms. Now, on the farms, there's no HISA, there ain't nothing. There's nothing there to spy, or there's no test. I mean, what is it for a trainer to shockwave a horse before he races at the farm, ships them in, and they win? Is there a test for that? No, there's no test for that, right? But if you shockwave a horse at Belmont Racetrack, you got to have the state vet, you got to have the security guard, and you can't race the horse for 30 days. So what's the sense of shockwaving a horse if you have to wait that long? Same thing with injections. You can't.
I can't believe that they get away with these rules.
Jesse Black, who knows, says John Campbell was not related to Buddy Gilmore. So that answers that question.
Okay. He knows? Okay, good. Thank you, sir.
And JW says when racetracks take slot machine welfare from the government gets to run the racetracks. And when the government runs the racetracks, it's going to turn to shit.
Run like shit.
And he's right. He's right.
Yeah.
The racetracks are bad. Everybody's getting their hands in the pot. That's what it's all about. The small guys, it's not going to be no more small trainers at Belmont Racetrack or Aqueduct, because now they're forming a union. They're forming a union for the backstretch workers. So that means that the day rate to the owners are going to go up exceptionally high, and the grooms are going to get paid much more than what they're getting paid, because they have to pay union dues. We have to pay for paid vacations. We have to pay for sick days. We have to pay for maternity leaves.
Is that true, what you're just saying?
My right hand of God.
Now that's a HISA rule?
No, this is a rule. I got to get the local number. It's run by a Spanish person. I forget his name. I don't know what his name is. But anyway, so far 15 trainers got the letter. So what they have to do is they have to send them their payroll statements. Okay. Now, most of the trainers that have big stables now have time clocks. You got to punch in, punch out. When you go to the paddock, you got to punch in, come back, punch out. The same. And they get paid an hourly wage.
Thank God.
Some train.
Thank God I got out.
I'm
Hey,
telling
let
you.
me ask you a question before I
I'd be
forget.
punching more than
When,
class.
when you race a horse, the groom takes him to the paddock. Is that
Yes.
part of the job, or they get paid for a paddock?
They get paid for a paddock. If
So
you go to Saratoga, you pay them $200. Okay. Yes. And the groom gets 200 because he goes with the horse the day before. Okay, and stays.
Forget about
yeah.
Saratoga. You're at a rate. You're at Belmont
Yeah,
Park.
it's $100. It's $100 every time you go to the paddock.
And what about a hot walker? The groom does
Hot walker
everything.
gets $50.
So wait, so the groom takes a horse to the paddock. As soon as the race is over, he goes back to the barn. The hot walker walks him. He gets 50. The groom gets 100.
50 for the hot walker and 100 for the groom.
Unbelievable.
$150.
And then you get 30. Then you get $30 for the pony, $25 for the outrider, $100 for HISA.
Unbelievable.
It's unreal. It's unreal. Mammoth is even worse. Mammoth, HISA takes 200 and change because they don't have workman's comp.
Do you know that my friend, another guy in thoroughbred racing, this just happened yesterday. He got his trainer's license, and he has one horse. He got a trainer's license, own a trainer. He's okay.
Yeah.
They wouldn't license him in Pennsylvania unless he had compensation insurance. So he says, I have no employees. They says it makes no difference. You got to have compensation insurance. He had to get compensation insurance. You know how much it was for no employees? $6,000. $6,000 just to get the certificate that he had compensation insurance, and he has no employees. $6,000.
Is that a year?
Yeah.
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 But I'll tell you the truth. I don't know who he got the workman's comp off of, because if you're self-employed, you do not need workman's comp. You could go tell Parks to take a walk, because that's not if you're even in the harness game.
I know that. I know what you just said used to be true. According to him, I was right with him. The girl said, you need compensation insurance before we can He says, but I have no employees. I'm the owner. I'm the trainer. I'm listed as the trainer in New York. I'm the owner in New York and the trainer in New York, and I just want to get a license here. And they says, we can't license you unless you have compensation insurance.
Okay, now the reason why, I'll tell you, I think this might be true. I might be wrong, but it's because he got an owner trainer. Now, an owner needs workman compensation when because he has to pay the jockey fund, the insurance for the jockey fund. You gotta have compensation for your horse.
Wow.
So if you're a trainer and you're self-employed, if you own a horse, it's a different scenario.
Are you getting out of the business in December?
Yes, December.
Definitely?
Happy New Year. Huh?
Really? You are?
Yeah, I you know what it is? I mean, I have a good owner. He pays great, but he's it's like they procrastinate, and I don't know. He wants to get a yearling. I said, what good is a yearling? I ain't gonna wait 2 years. You got to get a 2-year-old in training, but I got to wait till March. And then I put a claim in the other day for $50,000. I got outshook. $50,000. I got outshook. So and plus with all this shit that's going on with the union now and stuff, I mean, you can't, these owners, the small guys are going to get weeded out really fast. And even with the new tracks coming in, they're going to race 4 months on the poly. None of these trainers want to race on the poly. They're dirt horses. You should hear some of them. They're not ridiculous. David Jacobson took 27 to Kentucky. He sent another 20 to Indiana, whatever the hell that track is. Bob Atras went to Kentucky. So many trainers are going because, first of all, there's no workman's comp, and it's cheaper. New York, you get crucified. It costs you too much, and the owners ain't going to pay $200 a day. How can they? You better win.
New
So
York
the
has
small
been the
guys.
most corrupt racing association forever. They're
I
criminal.
thought, to be honest with Joey, when I was in the trotters, I thought that was, I said, oh man, this is messed up here. But when I got to the thoroughbreds, I said, this is what they call this the rich man sport. It's run like a piece of shit. I am telling you, they cater to the suit and tie trainers.
Joe, do you know this guy? You see the comment? Larry, do you know this guy?
No, the mob associate
Lanucci.
Corky Iannucci. I know the
What?
name. I know the name, but it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same way. I'm going to go down some of these things. A great and sincere celebrity was the late Tim Conway, who helped disabled jockeys through the jockeys. I think the thoroughbreds were the first ones to start some kind of fund for all these disabled jockeys. The standardbreds, I don't know that.
I think it
terrible
started when Ronnie Turcotte.
I don't know.
When Ronnie Turcotte, got paralyzed.
I'm really surprised the SOA never did anything to help anybody who got hurt in the business.
They give you a big pension, the SOA. What they give you, $600 a month?
You got to fight to get that pension.
And a sponge and a scraper. And it's a shame.
That you have to be,
incorporated.
Incorporated.
Yes.
And they never, every month they send you a newsletter, and every month you got to pay money into it. But not once in 40 years, almost 40 years, did they ever say to me that you have to be incorporated. You know how many people didn't get their pension because of that?
Me.
Never said it. You're one of
Me.
them.
Yeah, 30 years, 28 years, and never got a zoo, nothing.
Oh, man, I tell you.
And we signed for all the grooms, and we signed. I mean, the insurance was good. And then after a while, the insurance was horrible.
What about this question? This is a good question. I thought jockeys were self-employed.
They're self-employed?
DBA.
Well, they're basically, yes, they're vendors. Well, they got agents.
Yeah, but you see, hold it. A self-employed, because I had a couple of businesses. Self-employed person is somebody that does not have to report to the same place at a certain time every day. And that's not a jockey. A jockey has to report well, maybe not if he's named on a horse. He has, I don't know. But I that's a good question. I got to find out if jockeys are considered self-employed. And if they are considered self-employed, why do the owners have to pay a fee for compensation insurance to pay for a self-employed person?
It's the Jockeys Fund. It's for, that's what the trainers and owners.
Oh, for the paralyzed.
It's ironic. Todd Pletch has 400 horses. He pays the same amount as me, and if I got one horse.
I was just going to ask that question. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
pay
ridiculous.
$1,500 a year, and plus you got to pay $1.80 stall rent.
What do you mean stall rent?
You got to pay stall rent. Yep.
Belmont charges just rent for the stall?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, $1.80 a stall. You got 10 stalls, it's a day. So
I looked it up. It says jockeys are typically self-employed.
Well, they're what they call vendors. That's what they are.
Yeah.
It's just like Just like if you got the blacksmith, they're vendors.
Right.
You know, so basically that's what they all are, self-employed vendors.
Yeah, they're still self-employed.
Yeah.
You think, right?
All right, who can answer this question? At Woodbine here in Canada, on non-race days when only simulcasting, no one under 16 can attend, even with parents. Is this common in the States as well? Seems ridiculous. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know.
Well, Canada, no. New York, you could bring kids. They bring kids into the.
They can't wager, but you could bring
No,
them.
they can't wager. I mean, go see Belmont. You go to Belmont. I mean, Aqueduct. You see kids running all over the place.
Mm.
And Canada, I guess, is different. I don't know.
But
What
Jesse,
other questions?
who knows everything, says jockeys are independent contractors. So Anthony, you were correct again.
Yeah.
All right. So far, Tom the cop didn't call in. So I guess we lost him as a customer.
Well, maybe he's just doing something tonight. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Maybe he went to Ethiopia.
Yeah, or maybe it's Bible study. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe he went to Ethiopia. Yeah.
That's all. He went to Ethiopia.
There's a guy. You heard of the group, the Duprees, right? The singing group, the Duprees. There was a guy on there, a really good guy and a good friend. I'm not going to say his name. He retired. You know what his wish all through the years was? He would like to go and just like in some country where they have palm trees and just sit under a palm tree and just relax. And he's a great singer, great musician, and that's what he wanted to do. Very, very strange. I'll tell you, it just seems to me that the more talented you are, the more it's just like you're a different person. There's a lot of many real talented people as kids are gay. They just the gay kids seem to have like an unbelievable talent and bright and witty. When I had the Lacage Club, these kids were witty, smart, and extremely talented. And the ones that are not gay, they're just like weird people. Like, you know, I had to leave California. I really had to leave California because they're just weirdos. You sit and talk with them like, let's try to have dinner with Robert De Niro. He won't say 3 words. He'll just stare down at just weird. You know, introverts. They're like introverts, and yet they're brilliant. The only actor that I met that I know that really is not an actor is Pesci. I mean, that's just the way he is. Even everybody else I know, they're actors. They went to acting school and
Does anybody know who this actor is?
Yeah, that's Vince Edwards. That's Vince Edwards with your uncle.
Yeah, I don't know who the actor is though.
Vince Edwards. He was on.
Edwards?
Yeah, Vince Edwards. He was. Do you know? Not he was on that. He was on a TV series years and years ago. Something about a hospital. So he was a doctor in a hospital.
General Hospital.
Is that Dr. Kildare?
No, I don't think it was Kildare.
No.
Chamberlain, I think. But he was a good-looking guy, and he sang great. He was a good singer.
Right.
But he was an actor, a TV actor, Vince Edwards.
Okay. Good. Now I know who he is.
I got an announcement, Larry.
Go ahead.
I've been speaking to Michael a chance, and he's going to come on your show towards the end of November. He wants to come on, me and him. So we got a Hall of Famer coming up.
Well, that'll
That'll be a great show.
Yeah, that he called me up, and he's just a good guy.
Yeah.
I said it 3 or 4 times on this podcast, way back when some of the questions came up. Who do you think is in the top 3, top 4, top 5? And you could change that around all over the place, but no matter who you ask, Michael LaChance is always right there. There's lists that leave out O'Donnell. There's lists that leave out Campbell. There's lists that leave out Webster. There's leave out Gilmore and Carmine. But every list has LaChance.
Mike is a really great guy. He's a stand-up guy, and he's always been an honorable guy.
I know Gerfine loved him.
And he's strong as hell.
Yeah, you don't want to tell that now, do you? You want to wait until he comes on, that story that you told me?
Oh, yeah, I'll wait till he comes on.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, he was a good man. Good man. And a great businessman.
Mike rode a lot for me. He won a lot of races. Renee, forget about it. When I was with Renee, I was running his whole stable. I don't know if you remember that, Joey, when he was, yeah.
When he first came from Canada, he was driving everything. Norman wasn't driving. Norman Duplace wasn't driving. He was winning everything. He had some powerhouse stable in.
I was training that horse, Burnham. Burnham won 15 in a row. Huh? Yeah, Renee.
Right?
Yeah, 15. Renee, me and Renee were really close going way back. And I used to go to his house a lot. I knew his daughters. I knew him. The funniest story, I want to tell you, him and Jacques Primo. You know Jacques Primo, right?
Yeah, of course.
Well, this woman gave Renee a lot of money to go buy this horse in Canada. Mm-hmm. Renee didn't want to go. So he gave the money to Jacques Primo. So Jacques Primo went to Canada to buy this horse. So he bought the horse, right? No, really, legit. He bought the horse. So now they go to the airport to get the horse, and the owner, who paid a lot of money for the horse, they says, "Oh, I can't wait to see the horse, Renee." He says, "Oh, he's a big, beautiful, strappy chestnut. Gorgeous." You know who the horse was? Ideal Wilco. He was great.
Ideal Wilco. But he was a roan horse.
Yeah, he was great. But he didn't know the color of the horse. He just told the owner. He didn't go to Canada.
Ideal Wilco. Yeah, he was gray or roan or something.
Yeah, it was a gray horse. Yeah, it was a nice horse.
They answered your question. Vince Edwards the show was Ben Casey that year.
Yes, Ben Casey.
Ben Casey.
And who was the doctor that played next to him? Sam Jaffe. Guaranteed.
You're right. Yeah. You must have been a lot of days home back then.
Yeah. Back I was in jail watching them. Who the hell knows? I don't know.
Okay, let's get some questions. Sundance. I have John Campbell, Mike LaChance, and Jackie Moe's whip from the Campbell. Well, good for you.
Good.
Sundance. We have to have lunch one day. I didn't forget, but I've been going down south a lot. I didn't forget, and I promise we'll have lunch. She used to work for me. Her name is Trish. She calls Sundance. I don't know, but her name is Trish. She's a good kid, good girl. Okay, let's see this one. Larry, I was reading some harness racing stuff, and Ron Gerfine spoke very highly of your abilities, both as a trainer and driver. Ron is on Mount Rushmore of trotting guys. Yeah. Ronnie was a good guy. He was a good guy. And every time when I was barred and I was walking around down in Florida, and he would see me walking from barn to barn, just saying hello, visiting Florida and just going to the, I think it was Sunshine Meadows. And he'd see me walking from barn to barn. He'd be in the observation booth there, that little stand with all his owners. and he'd see me, and he'd do this all the time. Call me over, Larry, come here, and I go up there, and he introduced me to everybody, and he says, "This is the guy. I won 4 Hamiltonians or 5, whatever he won. I won this, I won that, but this is the guy that won my first stake race ever since when I was in the business." And that was that trotter, that Vernon Dancer. He was a trotter, but when he made a break, he couldn't handle it. He fell. And Vernon, he was a Jersey sire stake. And he shipped him down to Freehold. Vernon Dancer drove him, and he made a break, and he fell. And they brought him back, and Ronnie asked me if I could help him with him. And I made a few changes, and I drove him for him in the sire stakes, and he win all of them. And but Ronnie was always nice enough, even though I was somebody that was barred from racing. He called me right in the middle of all his, and he wasn't embarrassed to say he's my friend and he won the first day. He's a good guy. I had dinner with him just before he found out he had brain cancer, and he wound up leaving and go. I think he went with his kid and just died, away from everybody. He was a good guy. People, he had a bit of an attitude, but that went with Ronnie. That was Ronnie. Yeah. If you really didn't know him, you wouldn't like him. You'd say, "Who the hell does he think he is?" But
they call him the trotting guru.
Yeah, and he come up with that name, and he answered a lot of questions for a lot of people on. I think it was on Facebook. I think. So he was a good guy.
Yeah, he was.
And that cancer, Jesus Christ, what a terrible. I mean, he didn't even know anything. When he was with me, we went to a steak place, and he was fine. He never knew. And then I don't know what happened. A couple of months later, he just disappeared. And next thing I know, he was dead. Well, okay, here's a question. What is the best food for horses? Oh God, I have no. It's all horse feed now. It all depends, I guess, how much protein you want, how much fat you want, how much, it all depends.
They're racing if they're not racing.
I know what the best dessert was. Bacon soda. They love bacon soda for dessert.
And sugar. And wind aid.
Okay, here's a good one. Larry, can you explain why Jimmy Takter is awesome with trotters but average with paces? Well, what can I say? There's a lot I could say, but how can I say it? Because he's a good guy.
90%, all the Swedes raced with 90% trotters their whole lives. They never even messed with paces.
Yeah,
so
but
that's why.
He also has a lot of money behind him, and he has a lot to pick from. And like you said, 90% of his barn is trotters, and he probably trains 100 or maybe even more. Who knows? And
right.
He gets the best of the best from overseas. So, but I remember when he first came here, everybody went nuts because he would come on a track with one front shoe turned backwards, one hind shin boot, one knee boot, and then the brakes on the jog carts and all of that crazy stuff. And all these American trainers, they start doing all of that kind of stuff, and all it really was he had a lot of horses. He had a lot of well-bred horses, and when you deal in numbers, you're gonna be up there. But he knows what he's doing. He's a good trainer, and he deserves all the success that he had.
He had the jog carts with the drag on them, right? Build up their ass ends.
Yeah. He did all that stuff, and then the American trainers copied from them. Now I'm not even sure. I never did. I had reasons why. There were pros and cons to that. There were pros and cons to everything that he did. But when you're training, let's see, what's an analogy I can give? Like, yeah, Charles Slutsky, we went to Vegas one time and he says, I never lose at blackjack. And I
Sure.
Charles, that's impossible. The house always has an edge, even though it's maybe 1 or 2 or 3%. You stay there long enough. He says, I don't care. You tell me, I'll bet you whatever you want to bet that whenever I sit down, that when I leave the table, I'll be even or ahead. And you know what he did? Because I bet him and I lost. He doubled his bet every time. He started off with $20. He lose 40, lose 50, and he kept doubling the bet. So when he got up to 5,000-6,000, the next bet was 6,000. And if he wins, he's even. And so anyway, when you
gotta have a big bankroll.
when you have a lot to pick from, you could make a lot of mistakes. And you know what? No, I don't want to get into that story. I'll wind up talking too much. What's this say here?
I'll tell you a story about blackjack.
Okay, go ahead.
In the 80s, probably the last time I played blackjack, I would drive to Atlantic City. I went to Trump Plaza or one of them, and I would play the whole table because blackjack, if you get somebody inexperienced next to you and they hit when they're not supposed to, it messes up the whole game. So at that time, you were allowed to play the whole table, all 7 hands. And that's what I did. So I end up losing, and while I'm playing, the pit boss, he puts some tickets in my pocket. And I didn't know what they were. He said, hey, these are complimentary. I thought they were just dinner tickets or something like that, right? So I got a room there at the Trump Plaza or whatever it was called, and I'm ready to go home. I'm depressed. I lost, and I go outside. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning, and there's for blocks and blocks and blocks. There's fathers and sons, fathers and daughters. They're lined up for like, I would say for like miles. And I'm saying, what's going on? They says, oh, they got that WrestleMania tonight. Hulk Hogan is wrestling, and they're trying to get tickets for Hulk Hogan. So I said, oh, all right. So I don't think nothing of it. I'm saying, I wonder what that guy gave me last night in my pocket. I was thinking. So I go in my shirt pocket. He gave me 4 tickets to WrestleMania. I got $800 a ticket. This was in like 1987 or 88. They were fighting over, I said, oh, maybe I get $100 each. I ended up getting like $800 a ticket. That was a lot of money back then. Yeah.
All right.
Did you go back to the blackjack table?
No.
All right. I gotta answer this. Eric says, Ari, you skipped my question. So I guess the question was this one. So let me answer it the best way I know how.
You just did.
The best way I know how is that when you deal in numbers, you have a greater chance of having more success. If he has, let's say, he has 100 horses in training, if 90% of them are trotters, you got a much better shot of having a couple of good trotters than having a good pacer when you only have 10 in training. So it's a numbers game, and everybody knows, and there's no way. Look, way back in the early 70s, I used to go to the farm when Aaron says, you have a blank check, I'll spend as much money as you want. And I says, well, let me give this guy the best possible shot, because that's when I was 100% legit again, and I really wanted to win races and everything. And
here comes Davey Handel.
Yeah. I don't want to get into that. But I went to all the farms with veterinarians and all kinds of the up-to-date equipment and everything, measure their lung capacity, measure their heart, measure everything. Nothing made a difference. And in almost every sale that I could remember, going back hundreds of sales, the highest price yearlings never make it, yet they're the best bred. They just don't ever make it. I never forget the day when that Buddy Gilmore had a real good horse he bought for like $10,000. The last horse in the sale, he become a world champion. What was that horse's name? It was something to do.
Skipper?
No. It had to do with down the turnpike or so. What the hell was that horse's name? Anyway, it's you breed to the best and just hope for the best. There's no guarantees, and that's I just had this conversation the other day with a good friend, and there's two ways, in my opinion. There's a bunch of different ways to train based on what you're looking to do. If I was going to train at my age right now, I would want to just play the claiming game because I'm too old to have young horses. And the odds of doing a Lou Guy to Morty Finder to go to the 2-year-old in training sales and just buy the best one in every race, I can't do that. So I would play the claiming game. And what I would do is I would get the old classiest horse in the race that's crash diving and claim him, and all I would do is just probably race him out of the fields and brighten him up and just giving him a race.
He's got the class already.
That's probably what I would do. Now, when I was looking at the pro and we were talking about this, my friend says to me, yeah, but this one is royally bred. This one, look at this mother. They paid $2.5 million for his mother, the broodmare, this and that. And he's by one of the best producing stallions and everything else. And I was trying to convince the guy that, first of all, when you breed to the best broodmare and the best stallion, they don't ever win. They just don't. They're the highest price. But then again, aside from that, once they're 5-6 years old and they're in a 5,000 claimer, the mother and father don't mean nothing. They had 4 years to be what you thought they were going to be. And I'll never forget the time at Delaware Park. That trainer, what the hell's his name? Who's the old guy? He's 82 years old now, 84, 87 years old. Wayne Lucas. They gave him 30 stalls, and all 30 stalls were full with all high price yearlings that are now 2-year-old. And everyone went in the maiden 10 claimer, maiden 5 claimer, maiden 15 claimer. Everyone was $1 million, $2 million. And it just don't work. So why would you look to claim a horse that's 7 years old and has a track record? In 6 years, he's nothing but a 5 claimer. What's the difference if who his mother and father was? It makes no difference
in the claiming game. Breeding don't mean nothing.
Right? Exactly.
It doesn't mean nothing, and it's very rare that you see a full brother or a full sister turn out to be a champion.
I remember when Lucian had Poco Moonshine. Poco Moonshine, he become a world champion, and on his way to that status, there was a $2,500 claimer racing in Monticello. Lucian claimed him. It was his full brother. Lucian claimed him and retired him. Gee, get him out. I don't want nobody to see that his full brother was a $2,000 claimer. Okay, so
Larry, when I first started the thoroughbreds, I did exactly what you were talking about. I went into the claiming game because I didn't have nothing, and I started to claim class horses that was going downhill, and I knew if I could improve them back to where they were. Like I claimed horses for 25 and they got claimed off me for 50, 75 because I used my trotter experience to get these horses to the winner's circle. My first 10 starts, I had 3 wins, 3 seconds, 3 thirds, and a 4th. But I used the claiming game, and you claim class old horses, cream always comes to the top. They could be halfway sound and they beat half these cripples that they have out there.
Here's a good question. Dave Schneider, doesn't Ron Pierce often get overlooked as an all-time great? I don't think he gets overlooked. I just think that he's out of the game now. But I raced with his father, Donnie Pierce. His father was great, and Ronnie is strange. Ronnie's the kind of guy.
He was a character.
I mean, if you said I have a mansion here that you could live in for free,
Or a treehouse.
or a tree house,
Live in a treehouse. Or a tent.
He's just now that he can't race because he was told that if he ever get in another wreck that he would be paralyzed for life. So now he's out in the wilderness. He searches for gold and shoots, and he does all. And every once in a
Billy
while,
Parker was like that.
yeah, Billy Parker up at Monticello. Yeah, they ran.
I remember I went to Billy Parker's house. We had a barbecue one time up
The
in
trail.
Monticello. Yeah, and I went in the refrigerator to get a beer, and there was a bowl of squirrels. There was a bowl of squirrels in the refrigerator. He's a good
Ronnie
guy,
Pierce with the bear.
Donnie Pierce had a farm up in Monticello. And I swear to God, me and Donnie became really close. And his son was a baby then. He was young. And I babysat him, I swear to God, up on that farm in Monticello when he was a young kid. He had a very bad back, Donnie Pierce, right, Larry? His back was shot. That's why he quit driving.
Well, he used to drink a lot. I guess that was.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing about Ron, though. When we were in Monticello, I remember him going to every single barn and talking to anybody for catch drives. I mean, he was such a go-getter back then.
When he came back,
everybody, I don't care who you were, he'd ask for a catch
when
drive.
he came back, when he got in trouble because of that bear skin that stunning. After he got thrown out of racing for that, he went to Japan or wherever they were, and he went there. He was successful there. He stayed there. Macau, and he stayed there for a couple of years. And one day, in the middle of the winter, the paddock judge Teddy used to work for me. So whenever I had a horse qualifying, I'd sit in there with him. We talk about old times, and it was bad snow. But they were going to hold the qualifiers, and all the top drivers didn't show up. Ronnie Pierce, the first time I seen him in years, because he went away. He come in, he says to Teddy, he says, listen, he says, I'm Ron Pierce. He had brand new colors, red and white and black, red, white, and blue. And he says, I'll put me down on wherever you need a driver. And after the race, he told just what Anthony says. He told every trainer, put me on any horse, I'll win with everything. And you know what? He did.
He did. Yeah.
He did. He was a really, really good trainer. Very strange. I mean, you'd be talking to him and he'd just like stare at you and got it. I got it. He was just
he was orbiting.
Yeah. He was a good guy. He's not overlooked. Everybody knows he was one of the best and one of the greats. But a lot of people ask, whatever happened to Brian Sears? Anybody know?
I didn't hear anything. You heard something, but you don't want to say, and I didn't look into it all. I forgot.
What I heard was bad. I don't want to say it if it's not true.
I didn't hear it.
Let's see what this guy says. Eric, I saw Angel Cordero poke a horse in the eye after the finish line because he lost. Any stories about him? Yeah, well, read my book. You'll hear plenty of stories about him. My book, Against All Odds by Larry Rolla. Read it, and he's in there. He's in there. And he's in and the reason he's in there is because it was in all the newspapers. So I wasn't divulging anything that anybody didn't know. It was in all the newspapers, and whatever was in the newspapers, I took out and I told the story. So Angel Cadell, but he was a great jockey. He was great. I don't know what this means. What does this mean, Joe? You're the smartest one of all of us.
Oh yeah, sure. What's it say?
You can't read it?
Have you heard of Ladbrokes in the UK? They are on every corner, horse race gambling places. Ladbrokes in the UK.
Can't help you.
Can't
They're
help you there.
bookmaking parlors.
Yeah, well, that's what they are.
Horse racing.
Yes, they're like a
They're-
bookmaking
they're,
parlor.
they're English bookmakers.
Yeah. They wear their top hats and their tails.
Yeah.
All right, look, it's an hour and a half. That's long enough. Thank you guys for coming on. I'm falling asleep here, and I thank you guys for saving me today because I never would have made it without you. Eddie is, as usual, very entertaining. Joe, very entertaining. Anthony, very entertaining. And I thank you all for coming on. Anthony, we're going to get them pictures.
Okay.
in.
Yeah,
Where's your dog?
Whoa.
Larry, where's your dog?
My dog. Buddy.
There he is.
I have some stories too next time about my uncle.
Yeah.
I got some stories.
All right, guys, then. I
Okay.
wish you all good night.
Yep. God bless.
There he
God
is.
bless.
There he is.
Hey, buddy. You're supposed
Joe, all
Joey,
the best.
tell your dad.
Tell him to hang
Thank
in.
you. Thank
The
you very
better
much.
days are coming. And
Thank
I
you
hope
very
he gets
much.
off that dialysis soon. Is
Yeah, me too.
that situation getting any better?
About the same. So we'll
Was he
see.
got to go 3 days a week, Joe, with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
But that's strange because he never had that problem before.
Nothing. It happened overnight. It's crazy. I just can't figure it out. But who knows?
Wow.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you all
as
for
you
asking,
get older.
Sam, and
Well, I wish all the best. God bless him.
thank you very much.
Thank you guys for coming on. You saved my
Larry,
life.
I'll talk to you.
All right, guys, stay healthy.
Okay.
God bless.
Good night, everybody. Good night.
Good night.